Genuinely, I was about halfway through this video when I realised I didn't have a brew. I mean, it's in the bloody title. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am going to bring you another Books and Brews. And today's theme is blue. Not at all influenced by the recent events in America. Today's theme is blue books. I have got 2 physical books that I'm going to share with you today, and I have got 1 book that I listen to as an audiobook, and I have also got a cup of tea. So why don't you go and grab one and join me and listen to my thoughts on 3 books that I have read recently that all have blue covers. It is the most tenuous link that I have done yet for a Books and Brews, but we're just going to go with it. Book number 1 is Dear Emmie Blue by Leah Lewis, and this fits in because it's got blue in the title as well. So this is the one that I listened to as an audiobook, but I also had an e-copy of it. I got both of those from NetGalley, and I believe it was the first book that I actually listened to on NetGalley's app, which I have had some kind of mixed results with. But this one, I really liked listening to it as an audiobook. I really liked the narrator. I felt like she was a very strong narrator. She gave all of the characters different and very distinctive voices. Her voice very much drew me into the story. So this is about Emmie, and she stands on a beach in southern UK when she's like 15, 16, and it's her birthday, and she sets the balloon out into the world with a message. My name is Emmie Blue. If you get this message, please respond to me. This is my address. So the balloon lands on a beach in France, and it's picked up by a guy called Lucas. And the two of them then kind of start a friendship, and it's a very, very strong friendship, but Emmie is kind of feeling more than just a friendship. Lucas invites her to France, and he invites her for this really big dinner, and she's expecting that this is the moment that he's going to tell her that he is in love with her, but he actually tells her that he's engaged to another woman that he's been seeing for a really long time called Marie. And that kind of sets the whole story in motion, where you are planning Lucas and Marie's wedding, and you're also seeing members of his family coming back. You've got his older brother Elliot, who Emmie would have known as well from when they were kids, and she has a quite good relationship with him, but they don't speak as much as she would do with Lucas. So obviously there's a little bit of kind of not quite coldness, but just unfamiliarity between the two of them. But as the book develops, their relationship starts to thaw a little, and that is actually really, really cute to see. I will be honest, I had kind of figured out what would happen at the end about 40 or 50% into the book, but there was a little thing at the end that just completely threw it for me, and I don't think I ever expected something like that to happen at the book. There is another kind of side plot, I'm going to say, to this in the relationship between Emmie and her landlady Louise, and that also does thaw quite a lot between the start of the book and the end. It thaws up to the point where they don't just live as landlady and tenant, they actually live as very close friends, and that storyline is kind of twinged with a bit of sadness, but also done very, very smoothly and done really well. It was something that I really enjoyed throughout my process of reading this book. Something else that's a little bit heartbreaking in this story is Emmie's relationship with her parents. So her father has pretty much abandoned her and her mother. She doesn't know who her father is, and she goes on a kind of discovery to find out who he is for maybe the first half of the book. She discovers who he is, and they kind of try to build a relationship, but it does have that feeling of maybe this is a little bit too much too late. I really liked this book. I listened to it quite a lot while I was out walking in the evening, because I read this during the last couple of days of summer. It really is a fantastic book. It's very emotional. It is one that I would definitely recommend having a box of Kleenex beside you, maybe having some chocolate or some ice cream just to kind of raise your spirits a bit. But it is a fantastic book. It's the first of Leah's books that I've read, but it's not the first that she has written. So I will definitely be keeping an eye out for Somewhere Close to Happy. Definitely recommend this book. So book number 2 is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. And I'm sure you will have seen this book so many times across the book internet. I know it is one of the most popular books from this year, and it definitely deserves to be. It absolutely lived up to the hype for me. So this book is about Amira, who works as a nanny for a really rich white blogger family in Philadelphia. One of the really popular mom bloggers in Philadelphia who has actually moved there from New York. While she's out looking after the kids one night, there's an incident in a local supermarket where people think that Amira has stolen the kid, mainly because Amira is black and the child that she is looking after is white. And that kind of takes you on a journey throughout the entire book. It's kind of like the catalyst for what happens throughout this book. Amira is one of my favorite characters that I have read this year. She's very driven, she's very determined, and I actually think she's very like me in that when I was 25, I was at that same level of I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know where I'm going to go from here that Amira is facing. One of the characters that I really did not enjoy in this book is Alex, who is the woman that Amira works for. I found Alex to be very much your white savior lady in that she is trying to do her best to show that she's on Amira's side. She's trying to do her best to show that she's not racist. She is not that kind of person, but a lot of what she's doing feels like it's for her own benefit and to push her agenda across. I really liked this book. I read this within, I think, 2 days. I meant to read it within one as part of like a 24-hour only reading black authors back in June or July. I was encapsulated by this book. It is so well written. It's set in 2015, 2016 in the lead up to the 2016 election, and Amira is campaigning for Hillary. I feel like that was also a really good part to this book because it kind of shows you what can happen when you get involved in grassroots politics and when you put your voice to the campaign, how much this can impact what you're doing in the world. There is a subplot in this that kind of ties the two women together, and I'm going to admit I did not love that at all. I don't even think that was a necessary plot point. It was fine, but I didn't love it, and I don't think that it needed to be there at all. I'm going to be honest. My absolute favorite character in this, though, was the little 3-year-old that Amira is looking after. Her name is Briar Rose, and she is just your typical 3-year-old. She's full of questions. She's precocious. She has absolutely zero filter. She is just your typical 3-year-old. I absolutely adored her, and I would read a book about her in a heartbeat. I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I genuinely think it is something that everybody needs to read this year. Last book on the list today is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. This is a sequel to Royals, also by Rachel Hawkins, but I don't necessarily think that you would need to have read the first one to be able to enjoy reading this one because it's such a completely different book. The characters don't really feature in this one as well. There is one character who features in both, and that's Flora. So this is about Millie, who is kind of going through a breakup in that she and her best friend Jude used to hook up quite a lot. It felt like they were in a relationship. It felt like they were just this close to announcing it. And then she sees her kissing another guy. To kind of get over it, she goes and accepts a scholarship that she has gotten for a school in Scotland. She goes there to study geology. And while she is there, it's a boarding school, and she gets roomed up with Flora, who is the Princess of Scotland. And then they start having feelings for each other. They start getting closer. It's a very much enemies to lovers trope. I'm going to have to admit, I didn't really like how this one was done, in that I feel like this book was marketed as an LGBT romance, super cute and super heavy on the LGBT romance, but that didn't really appear until 85% into the book, which felt a little bit too late for me. I listened to this as an audiobook while reading along the physical copy, and something that grated me every single time it happened was that the narrator kept mispronouncing Edinburgh. She kept pronouncing it as Edinburgh, and I just wanted to smash my screen every time she said that. But that wouldn't really be a problem if I had read the physical copy, so I think that's maybe just a little bit too picky. As I have said already, Millie was really interested in geology, and she was going to study geology. But for me, it felt like when she got to Scotland, all mention of that just went straight out the window, and we never heard about it again, which I also didn't love because it's such a niche thing that doesn't appear very often in much books. I haven't seen it in YA fiction, certainly. I haven't really seen it in a lot of contemporary fiction that I've read. And I feel like having a little bit more of a focus on the STEM thing that she was interested in, it probably would have opened up girls to an interest in STEM or taking a look at it and finding out a little bit more about it. That would have been a really great introduction to kind of STEM, geography, geology as a whole. I just think that it could have been done so much better. So, paired with the slow burn romance that was desperately slow, paired with not really sticking to what her USP was, this book didn't really hit the spot for me, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. So there you have it. There are 3 books that are all with a blue cover that I think you should go and check out. What books have you recently read that have a blue cover? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.